And welcome and good morning to this edition of LT&A's Contracting Chatter. I'm your host, Luciana Turner. How are you doing today? Oh, wow. You know how we do. As you come into the room, say hello, drop a chat, drop a comment in the chat. I acknowledge everyone who comes in. Hey, Jazzy. I acknowledge everyone who comes in. I interact with all comments. If you find the content useful, share. If you know someone in your community, in your network, who may find this information useful, you're not a business owner, but your friend is. Share this with them. Send it to them in their direct message. You can email it to them. Tell them, hey, this live goes on in the morning. You should listen to it. So that's my only ask of you at this time. So I just want to get started really quickly. so uh, it came to my attention because I'm aware of myself that I've made reference to something called the Federal Register, but I've never told my audience what the Federal Register is. So the Federal Register is actually a government website where every proposed rule change, regulation change that is um, getting ready to come out is posted. Even executive orders are posted there, and it's up for public comment. You know, you hear all of this, excuse me, uproar around Fed Now. But Fed Now was posted on the Federal Register 2 years ago. It just people don't check it. And I understand people don't check what they don't know about. So Fed Now was up on the Federal Register actually more than 2 years ago. I think it went up in 1999, if I remember correctly. I know it was pre-COVID. So the public had a chance to read what Fed Now was, comment on it, say what they liked about it, didn't like about it, what their concerns were, so that changes could have been incorporated. Even you can even put in there you feel that they should do public awareness campaigns. That's where when Obamacare rolled out, no matter what you think about Obamacare, you know why they did all of those national campaigns around it? Because in the public comments, people asked for it. That wasn't his brainchild. The public comments, people said, you need to do an awareness campaign around this so people know what it is and what it isn't. So that's what the Federal Register is. Now, this is the first time on this platform. I'm going to try to do this. For those of you watching on Instagram, I'm sorry. I'm not able to do this with Instagram because I'm streaming on two different devices. And as of right now, I do not have access to stream to Instagram. So I have to use a separate device. So you can't see my screen share. And hopefully I do this correctly over here. And no, can't do it. Sorry. Okay, so I'm not even going to try to do it and mess up my stream. I was going to try to do a screen share, and I should have practiced it before I went live. Anyway, because I wanted to walk through the Federal Register with everybody. So anyway, like there was a executive order that moved certain agencies under the executive branch. effective March of this year. Most people miss that. When you see a lot of these talking heads on, don't judge me, TikTok, Instagram, that are talking about these things, they're actually going to the Federal Register, picking up what's going on, and then they're coming out. Now, I'm not saying their analysis is correct, because some of them are spot on and some of them are so far off the mark, it doesn't even make sense. But that's what the Federal Register is. It's a registration of all proposed legislation. It even tells you when that legislation is going into effect. So it can be posted today for open for comment with an effective, the closed comments could be 3 months from now, 6 months from now, a year from now, depending upon how long they want it open, and then an effective date of whatever. All of that is posted. There are links within it. You can click the link to go back to the original executive order. If it's a regulation, the original proposed regulation change, it tells you the agency that is issuing it. Just like yesterday, I told you about the 8A change. You click the link, it takes you back to the SBA's website. When it's legislation, it takes you to the House or the Senate, whichever committee. So the Federal Register is a powerful tool for business owners and for the common everyday person, quite frankly. It's just that most people aren't aware of it. This is another tool in our arsenal. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. This is how we keep watch on the people that we elect to represent us and represent our best interests. It is also how we keep an eye on what's coming down the pike so that we can incorporate it into our business strategies so that we're not caught off guard by these last minute regulation or legislative changes. And we're not stronghold or held by the news. You don't have to wait for Fox News, MSNBC, or whomever to tell you about it. You can actually set up alerts with the Federal Register. Just like you can set up alerts with GSA. You can go on gsa.com, .gov, excuse me, gsa.gov. There is a gsa.com. Don't do that. gsa.gov and get their alerts. And they will tell you everything that's new that's coming out. Now, that's a lot of data to sift through. So be wise with what you're registering for and if you should register for it. There are a lot of, great newsletters you can sign up for that do an excellent job of summarizing this data for you, that are free newsletters. And they do an excellent job of summarizing this data for you, which include the links back to their source data. So if you don't want to sign up for all these lists, which I don't blame you, you could just register for some of these great newsletters. I have several newsletters that come to my inbox because I'm not on every listserv out there. If I was, I would go crazy. I'm on certain listservs. That's it. And then others, I let them do what they do best. But I just thought I would come back and tell you what the Federal Register was, what its purpose is, and how to utilize it, since I've referenced it several times. Um, and especially in the last few days, I've referenced the Federal Registry several times, but I never explained what it was. So, in that capacity, let's move forward. And my notebook isn't here. Oh, here it is. My trusty dusty chatter notebook. Now, here's a key thing. I'm a government contractor, so I always talk about your contractor's notebook. Every business owner should have a business notebook. If you hold it electronically, that's fine. Or you hold it, I like pen and paper. It's something about writing it. Using all of my senses. It just ingrains more. It triggers thoughts, flow. That's where I get a lot of my inspiration for topics that I share on Chatter. So, sorry. That's where I get. That's how I get a lot of content is through that pen to paper process. So, with that said, the sergeant at arms in the Senate and the House, and the sergeant at arms are basically the people who keep order, are having a series of workshops with their look ahead series. I've talked about this before. It bears repeating for those who are new and are just watching for the first time. They're holding a series of workshops. You can go to the Senate and the House websites. They have those workshops listed. You can, if you're in the DMV area, I would suggest attending live. And I suggest attending live because you want them to put a face with the name. And then I want to share this part. You want to get into the habit of attending these networking events live if possible. They remember your name. And okay, they remember your names. I will never forget when I won my first contract. It was a rebid. I had bid on a contract previously and lost. I was crushed. I rebid on the contract 3 years later and won a part of the contract. When I had the entrance conference, the contracting officer actually stated he remembered my company's proposal from the first time. That was 3 years later. And I hadn't submitted another proposal to that agency. I'm just telling you, they remember. I attended a lot of networking events, and I know I never met him because at that time in my business journey, as hard as it may be for some people to believe, be quiet, jazzing, I was a very reserved person. I was shy about approaching people I didn't know. So I was never a walk up to somebody and say, hello, my name is, I never did that. So I would attend, sit in the back, and kind of mill around and accidentally talk to people. So I know I never spoke to this contracting officer. So for him to say he remembered me and my company 3 years later, one, I must have made an impression upon him. Two, to have won the contract the second time around, or a piece of it, because I was one of three primes. To have won a piece of the contract 3 years later was totally, totally amazing. So, yes, these contracting officers do remember you. So attend these networking events. Every government agency has a small business office. They have a small business liaison's office. Their job is not to give you a contract. So do not walk in there talking about, I'm a small business and I want a contract. Their job is to be your advocate on your behalf when you submit a proposal. So that means you actually have to submit a proposal in order for them to advocate for you. That means they need to know you to advocate for you. The only way they can know you is if you introduce yourself. And I don't mean go in there, and I know we have these elevator pitches everybody talks about, and they're fine. But have a capability statement. And I know some people will tell you capability statements are antiquated. I would have one. I would have a hard copy one and a digital one. I would have one available to email out, because I remember attending events and some people didn't want paper one. This was pre-COVID. I mean, way before COVID. They didn't want paper. They didn't want papers because it was a huge networking event. So they wanted them emailed. I didn't have the capability to email. Don't ask me why. I didn't have the capability to email it to them. So I know I lost out on a lot of things because I didn't email it right then and there. I was like, well, I'll do it later. And later never came. So have the ability to share their capability statement electronically on the spot. I'm not talking about being obnoxious with it. I'm talking about being strategic. We're entering the summer months, even though the weather doesn't feel like it. This bipolar weather is just swinging from winter to fall, because I know it was 50 degrees here in North Carolina, and I was like, it wasn't this cold all winter. And there are some great government contracting events coming up. I have one coming up, and I believe it's one of the greatest contracting events for small contractors, and that's the Contractor Intensive. That's October 4th, 5th, and 6th here in Charlotte, North Carolina. I believe it's going to be a great event that you need to attend. We're going to talk about business credit, maintaining it, and the person I have coming in, she's going to do more than fluff. That's why I have her coming. She's actually going to give you actionable information. And for those of you who are like, oh my God, this is another pitch fest, none of my facilitators are going to pitch from the stage. And they've all agreed to that. However, there will be an opportunity for you to sign up to have a one-on-one conversation in the room with them, not in the room, in a room with them at the event, or for you to connect with them after the event. So you don't have to worry about just sitting through pitch after pitch after pitch after pitch after pitch. I couldn't stand going to events, and that's what it was. What it is 3 days of education, networking, Q&A. I've built in Q&A. You get to ask questions. There are panel discussions. You get to ask the panels questions. So my facilitators are actually going to sit down and answer your questions along with facilitating to you. We're going to have guests coming in just for the panel, just to be on panels. From the Defense Contract Audit Agency, I'm reaching out to see if I can get someone from the IRS to come in and speak, because these are key conversation pieces that are missing. And they're important to business owners, they're important to contractors. So that's my event, October 4th, 5th, and 6th here in Charlotte, North Carolina. I've announced 3 facilitators, well, 4 including myself, that's going to be there. I'm teaching what I call decoding the RFP during the 3 days. And it's really, and I call it decoding RFP because a lot of people just do not know how to break down a request for proposal. And that's part of why you're not winning, because you're not even breaking down a request properly. So that's one of the sessions being taught. We're having another session on leadership and executive leadership. Those are 2 different sessions. And there's a different, and we're going to have a panel discussion on that. The difference between leadership and executive leadership. I really think you're going to find this conversation amazing. So that's the Contractors Intensive, October 4th, 5th, and 6th in Charlotte, North Carolina. I recommend people attend the American Express Open. It's typically in Washington, D.C., and it's usually in June. Now, that's a massive event. American Express is a massive event. It's 3 days. And I would tell you, if you have a team, take a team. If you're soloing it in your business, this is a time I would drag your sister, your cousins with you, because there are workshops that run concurrently, and you may want to be in on both. So you're going to have to break up and go. You go to one, and do a debrief. And you debrief each other. I would recommend every government contractor go to that. There are people in the room there that you want to hear from, that you want to be in the room with. That's one that I recommend you be. It isn't free. American Express, I think that's a free event. My Contractors Intensive isn't free. So there's that. So that's chatter for this morning. The Federal Registry is a listing of, just to do a synopsis of what I discussed today. The Federal Registry is the government site of all proposed legislation, and where it's open for public comment. I suggest you check it out. The site is actually federalregister.gov. It's a simple website, federalregister.gov. You will see everything goes up there for public comment. As I stated earlier, this uproar over the Fed now, that was posted pre-COVID back in it was either 1999 or 2020, whatever it was before COVID. So people are up in arms about something that's going into effect in July, and there's a whole lot of misinformation surrounding it, but it was up on the Federal Register for public comment. People could have asked their questions. People could have put their input in on it. Just like the proposed changes to the LT&A program, that is up on the Federal Registry. I discussed that yesterday on my platform. The replays are up on all of my platforms. The best place to go to watch all of my replays for the chatter is my YouTube channel, LT&A Consulting Group. because they're all there in order. That's just the best place to catch my replays. And then periodically I go through and remove my recordings from all the other platforms just to clean them out and make them pretty. So the Federal Registry is where you get to voice your concerns, write them out there. Just like there was an executive order moving certain agencies under the executive branch from other branches of the government. And that went into effect in March. There are a lot of things that you can do. LT&A consulting, not LT&A. I know for some reason, and the and is an ampersand, not A&D, it's ampersand. So yes, excuse me. I'm choking for some reason. Choking on air. My YouTube channel, and I go live on YouTube for Chatter, Contractor Conversation, my podcast. Those episodes are posted on my YouTube channel now in video form. So if you want to watch the videos of all of my podcasts, they're on the YouTube channel. Contractor Conversation podcast is on my YouTube channel in video form. So you can watch it there. And my master classes, now I have two form of master classes, paid and free. They're going to be on YouTube as well. And what I've decided to do for the Contractor Intensive are the Q&A sessions only will be streamed to the YouTube channel. The rest of the intensive, you have to be in the room. But the Q&A session will get streamed live to my YouTube channel. So with that said, I'm going to close out with this. Keep in mind that we have to be good stewards of our businesses. And to be a good steward of our businesses, we have to be a good steward of ourselves. That means keeping ourselves at optimal. I know I am working on my health. I started this journey before my health crisis, and I'm really doubling down on it now. Because I can't steward a business if I am in poor health. And we all have to be there. And I'm not here being preachy. I'm just here being holistic and being transparent. And sometimes, especially we as women, we get so bogged down in the day-to-day running of our businesses, we forget to take care of ourselves. Bad eating habits, bad sleeping habits. Now, there are times you have to burn the midnight oil. I've done it. But we have to make sure we rest, we connect and stay connected with our families and friends, because a stressed mind never creates. Never. And then you wonder why you keep running into roadblock after roadblock, because you didn't take time to steward yourself correctly. So when you have a problem in your business that you can't find the answer to, the first place you need to look to is, are you stewarding yourself correctly? Have you gotten the proper rest? And if the answer is no, I don't care what's going on, you need to back up and rest. Because if you don't, burnout is real. And no matter what's going on in your business, you can't fix it if you're burnt out. And with that, I invite you to join me on tomorrow morning at 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for another installment of Contractors Conversation. I am Luciana Turner, your host, and I will see you on tomorrow morning. Have an amazing, amazing day.